Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. This is a little, very brief history of pot still Irish whiskey. This is a manifesto for pot still Irish whiskey by the rather lovely and wonderful Peter Mulryan of the Blackwater Distillery. The Blackwater, you always want to sort of assume Game of Thrones. It, yeah, it reminds me of Baroness Mayblood, the late great Baroness Mayblood of Belfast, from Belfast, who she was ennobled for her trade union work, and she decided to pick where she's from. And she grew up beside a river that all she ever knew the river to be called was the Blackie River. That's what so she thought it was called the Blackwater. So she became Baroness May Blood of the Blackwater. But it wasn't the Blackwater, it's called the Blackstaff River. And so she became Baroness for somewhere she'd never actually been before. So yeah, so the Blackwater, down in Waterford. Yeah. Now, what this little book is, and it's not very long, there's only, 64 pages in it. It's a little homage to whiskey of yore, and you get lots of pictures of Peter looking very pensive and concerned about stuff. Uh, Now he's you see another 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 album 3 photograph. It's a lovely little book, um, and what it does is it takes you through really what Irish whiskey used to be. Now, Irish whiskey at one point you'll hear this bandied about all the time. Irish whiskey was bigger than Scotch, and so on and so forth. Right? Okay, that's ancient history. It's done and dusted. But the pot still definition for lots of people don't know what Irish pot still whiskey is. Irish pot still whiskey is a PGI product. So you have Irish whiskey, and then you have Irish pot still whiskey. And pot still whiskey, as it currently stands, and if you read the book, Peter gets very irate about this. Brendan at Cologne gets very irate about this. You'll have seen this, hopefully. If you don't, search for it on the internet. Probably not safe for work at most times because he does a bit of effing and jeffing whenever he does it. But anyway, currently Irish pot still whiskey is a mix of malted, unmalted barley and an adjunct, and another grain if you wish. So a minimum of 30% malted, 30% unmalted, and 5% other grain. This is not historically correct. This has been demonstrated many times, and the smaller, sort of more nimble guys, if you like, um, really dislike this. They say Irish pot still whiskey should be much more content of other grains, especially oats. And Peter in the book tells you about why that came about, how that came about, um, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not going to labour too much because I'm not going to tell you the whole book, because if you want the book, buy one of the boxes. This is the inaugural release from the Blackwater Distillery. Small artisanal distillery who are doing a project that is really grain focused, not cask focused, grain focused. And they really have been setting themselves up for this moment. Okay, so I'm not going to read you out the whole book. Read the book, buy the box. It's €250, and you get 4 bottles of whiskey in it. This is a what do you call it? Press pack or influencers box, and I get 4 little test tubes of the whiskies. Now I'm going to talk you through. It comes in this rather nice, elegant box. I keep forgetting about this bloody microphone on. Justin got me this microphone, by the way. Thank you, Justin. Justin gets very into all this takey stuff, and I forget all about it all the time. This is not, and this is head in. But this rather nice box with these vials in it. Now I'm going to just go through. I haven't opened these. This is initial first impressions. when I get the bottles, I might possibly do a different review of these, but I want to get the dirt grain up because this is out now, and I would imagine I'm probably going to be the first person to review it in any great depth. I'm going to review all 4 of them here quickly and talk you through it because I want to be the first to do it. If I'm totally honest, no point in me lying. Now you get a little card, and it's called the dirt grain. Now, just this card, I'm not limited edition exploration and flavour inspired by traditional Irish mash bills. 100 years ago, Irish whiskey ruled the world. It was made with a mix of grains: oats, barley, wheat, and rye. Grown on Ireland's soil, and the grains were the thing. They made a whiskey so full of flavour it didn't need years in casks to taste of something. We're making whiskey like this again using the mash bills recipes from Irish pot still whiskey's heyday. This is more than a first release from our Ballyduff distillery. This is a manifesto of intent. While we draw inspiration from the past, that's what is celebrated here. Our eye is firmly fixed on the future. Our objective is not simply to recreate historic mash bills, we want to redefine the category. Join the revolution, Peter Mulryan. So Peter gave me this when I was down at Potcheen now. He's a big fan of Potcheen, and if you find yourself next year in and around Dublin for the next Potcheen Now festival, get your wee bums down because it was great crack. Lovely, nice people doing really, really nice things. And it'll surprise you just how much flavour you can get out of Potcheen. Don't. Oh, I beginning to get really annoyed with. Oh, you need the real stuff. My brother-in-law's son's cousin's aunt's uncle's friend's brother makes Potcheen the real stuff. Guys, it's a bit like if you were taking paracetamol. You go to a shop and you buy paracetamol that's been medically under supervision and is precisely what it says on the label. Don't be going to some old guy, some young fella who set up a still who hasn't a clue what he's doing really. It might taste okay once, it might taste okay a million times. You only need it to be bad once. And well, to each their own. But all I know is most of the Potcheens I've ever tasted that aren't made by professionals really ain't good. Anyway, enough of that. So this is dirt grain. This is what it's called, and I'm going to go with number 8. Garden Gate, number 8. And we're going to pour a little bit of this into my glass. There we go. For some reason I thought there was more in that. Now, number 8 is number 8 mash bill is inspired by a mash bill from 1908. It's 50% Gangway and Laureate malt, 35% Laureate barley, and 15% Husky oak. Husky oak. Husky oak. I think that probably means that the grain was left in the oak, or the husk was left in the mash bill. Now it's 45.3% aged in a bourbon cask. Well, very different. Very different. And this will be at least 3 years old. Okay, we don't have age statements because that's not the point of these. They don't want age statements. But this is quite fruity. Well, fairly estery, fairly green. With quite a strange note. My head's searching around for what that note is. It's a little bit medicinal. It's a little bit like a bottle of medicine you would give a kid. I know I don't want to give any brand names away, but once you smell this, you'll know what I mean. It's a little bit sweet, not unpleasant, quite pleasant actually, but it's and it's fruity and touch of mint there as well. Touch a little bit of fruit heading towards mint. It's not as green as the initial taste. And remember, I only have samples here, so they get quite a lot more complicated as you would be going down the bottle. But it's got a really interesting nose. Really interesting. The oats are doing something that barley doesn't ever do, and it's giving you a sort of artificial sweetness, which is not artificial. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's probably artificial because it's not a typical modern whiskey, and that way it's kind of throwing me a little bit because it's that sweetness as if it's added on to something else. It's because it's me, not the whiskey. It's me because it's not something that I'm used to doing. So yeah, there's still that little bit of mint, a little bit of wood coming in on it. But it's that interesting note where that almost fizzy fruit, and I mean, and that's kind of what I mean. It's like getting like a strawberry and crushing it and putting in a little bit of champagne, and it's that kind of sparkly lemonade-ness. I'm not, is that a lemonade-ness? Is that a word? But yeah, it's kind of like that fizzy fruit. It doesn't feel as if it should be at that, but that's what it is, you know. Mm, wow. First thing, the mouthfeel in this is quite pleasant. Um, it's got a little bit of body to it. Yeah, that's interesting. That's got loads of flavour. That is very, very, very drinkable. Very drinkable. Yeah. On the palate, again, quite light. There is bits of fresh fruit, little bit of sort of deep citrus. It's down here on the tasting notes, red currant and cocoa powder. I'm not really getting massive amount either of those. What I'm getting is a bit more citrus, a bit more sharpness, and the cocoa. Yeah, I could say there's a little flake there, but no, I wouldn't say it's dominant of it. It's quite light and fruity, and a little bit different in that it comes across in a different way of delivering the spirit or delivering the flavour. Um, really quite pleasant indeed, actually. Uh, you could non-whiskey drinkers would drink that in a heartbeat and probably think that's really really quite pleasant. Yeah. Next up, I'm going to do a little bit of a compare and contrast. Next up, we are going to go for 15. I don't know if a bingo call. Is there a bingo call for 15? I'm going to have a good night tonight, by the way, because I feel a little bit mad scientist, if I'm honest. You know, which is to be fair, it's probably the way I in the back of my head I sort of picture Peter running about looking very pensive. You know, like a U2 album cover. Um, yeah. So this is okay. Let me get this right. This is 40% laureate barley, 30% gangway and laureate malt, 15% husky oak, 12% Costello wheat, and 3% performer rye. Inspired by a mash bill from 1915, which is, it seems a very complicated um, mash bill. Now, not a huge amount of legs there. Yeah. Well, quite floral, zesty oranges. It's down here as orange blossom. Yep, get that. Yeah, again, it's quite sweety-ish, because you're not used to this. This is not a whiskey that you're used to drinking. You're not used to this, because Peter and the guys down there have been sitting with this for years, seeing the development and coming through. It doesn't feel as alien to them, but to me, this feels quite markedly different. Really fresh, little richness coming through on the nose. I was talking to a guy the other day who told me about nose feel, and yeah, I get that. I'm a more mouthfeel guy. I like how it feels in my mouth. I like oiliness, richness, a little bit of body, that kind of thing in my mouth. And that's coming, and there's a little bit of citrus, and I promise you, in that you'll understand what I mean when you put this to your nose. There's almost like a very faint whiff of smoke coming through in this. None of this is peat or smoked or anything like that, and it's not peat. It's a smokiness that's very far down the line here, but it's definitely there. There's definitely an element of just a little touch of smoke in the background. It's like someone lit a twig, blew it out, and it's going about 5 minutes ago. It's just there. There's just a little bit of a waft of smoke in the background, way down the line, but it's there. Mm. Yeah, that's not again another interesting note. I want to compare these two actually. I'm laughing because it's strange. My wee brain's going, what the hell's that? See, this has got a little bit more of a um, chemically type note. That would probably take a bit more water than this would take. You could put a bit of touch. I mean, 2 or 3 drops of water in that. That's at 44.2. That would take a little touch of water, and I think that would probably open that up a bit more. So, without further ado, what we're going to do is put a tiny drop of water in this. Now I can see lots of oil opening up there. So just 3 drops of water. That's all I'm putting on it. I'm going to let that sit a little bit because I'm going to go on to the next one. As I say, I don't want to bore you all rigid with me waffling on for hours and hours and hours doing 4 different whiskey reviews. So this is mash bill number 38 from 1838. That's back when Justin was just in high school. Mash bill 38. 40% laureate barley, 40% Costello wheat. Wow. 20% Gangway and laureate malt. Now, none of these will be chill filtered. None of them are chill filtered. None of them are going to be have any colour added to them. I think you can probably see that there's not going to be an awful lot of colour added to any of these. That's not that would be a bit of an anathema to Peter. Again, not any legs or anything to that. It's not really getting to pull the oil out of any casks. It's not there for long enough. Minimum of 3 years. Don't forget that. Now, let's try this. 40% wheat. Automatically, again, your head's going, hang on, that's not a whiskey. That's not a whiskey. That's not a whiskey. But it's us. It's our problem. It's my problem. This is whiskey. This is what whiskey was 200 years ago. This is what it was. Very cidery. Um, first thing I thought of was when you first start drinking when you're a kid in Ireland. Don't do this, kids. If anybody's talking, please don't advocate this to anybody under the age of 18. But when you first start drinking, most people start on cider. Yeah, it's quite cidery. Cidery with a drop of vanilla ice cream thrown in there. Yeah, yeah, aged in an apple brandy cask. There's a little bit. It's very cidery. It really is. It's just exactly what it reminds me on. There's a little bit of sort of vanilla ice cream in the background, but it's there, but it's a secondary thing, quite a secondary thing. Yep, just cider. That's all. Pretty much all I'm getting there is just cider. And that's not the worst thing in the world, if I'm honest. I don't necessarily want your whiskey to nose like a cider, but that I'm smiling because it's an unusual thing. And this is 47.1% alcohol. But it reminds me of a cider, a good quality cider. I'm not talking about the cheap rubbish you drink when you're 15 with your mates kind of thing. I'm talking about it's cidery. Quality cider. I want to say take it to Somerset and see what they think of it. I'm actually smiling about this. I love this kind of thing. I'll just hold my hands up to this. I love this because this is what whiskey to me was really all about. Making those connections, people finding out stories, looking, doing stuff that's looking back to the past, trying to recreate and touch a little bit of history. I like that. I don't like overdoing it. I don't think everybody should be doing it. There's lots of people who should be looking a bit more further forward. But this is what Peter has been doing from day one, doing his research. Um, Other guys, the likes of Fanon, have been doing it with other guys as well. But doing that, saying this is what we want to do, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to have this manifesto. We're going to keep that integral thing that we want to do, and hopefully people will buy into it, and it's going to be a success. More power to them, I don't think, as I say, I don't think everybody should be doing this. I think certain people doing it, other guys experimenting with tweaking these mash bills, but recreating them is a good thing for some people to be doing. It really is. Now, mm, that's not tasting the way I thought it was going to. Wow, markedly different taste. Baked goods. There's lots of baked notes going on there. Um, it's kind of like a type of bread with jam on it. Um, Butter and jam. A butter and jam sandwich is what I'm getting the, on my palate. On the finish, it kind of continues doing the same. It's a little bit dull on the palate. The finish does a lot. A little bit of grape, tiny little bit of citrus coming through there, but much more baked. I'm old style bread and jam, bread and butter and jam sandwich. I haven't had one of them in years. Um, yeah, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Mm, yeah, definitely. Oh, that's much different, much different on the palate than it is on the nose. Much different. Well, recommend that. Yeah. Now, do the 93. Yeah, I always advocate that people shouldn't be doing more than about 3 or 4 whiskey tastings of an evening, unless they pace it out, unless they sort of lamp it out a little bit further. But now this is number 93. Again, don't think there's a bingo call for 93. And this one is aged in a sherry cask, 43.1. It is 46% laureate barley, 35% gangway and laureate malt, 15% husky oat, and 4% peated laureate malt. Inspired by a mash bill from 1893. Okay, now, so I'll just show you that card. You can pause if you wish. I think that should be able to pick that up all right for you. Again, these are all very different. Laureate malt appears in all of these. Yeah, I'd be interested just to see the difference between most distilleries these days are using Sassy, but it'd be interesting to see what happens with if you just got a pure laureate versus a pure hunter versus a pure Sassy versus a pure various other ones. It'd be interesting just to see. I'm sure there's probably somebody doing it, and I'm just not thinking about it off the top of my head. Waterford maybe have done some. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Now, very different from all three previous ones. On the nose, hang on the nose. Even though the same oat content there is in this, in the first one as there is in that, let me just check. I'm actually in this has the same oat content, markedly different. I'm just checking. I want to just check something. This is the highest unmalted barley content, hasn't it? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this is the highest unmalted barley laureate. Real earthiness, real. On the nose is not brilliant on this, if I'm honest. The nose is not. Yeah, maybe being a little bit harsh on that. It's earthy, and rustic, with a little bit stale sherry. And what I mean by that is, if you're having a drink and something sits a little bit and it oxidizes a little bit, and you kind of get that little bit off. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm not saying it's just, again, it's a little bit different than you're used to. The peat playing a little part there. Sometimes I find what peat does is, because it's this sort of bottom note, it accentuates the top notes. That's not really happening here. You have this bottom note that sort of takes everything with it. Again, I'm not being disparaging here. I'm just saying it's a different style of nose. Probably not one that I'm that massively keen on. Wow. Mouthfeel is probably the best of the four. But I'm not loving that one, if I'm massively honest. That's a little bit disjointed for me. It kind of wants to be a little bit sweet, but it's not. It kind of wants to be a bit peated, and it's not. And it kind of wants to be a couple of different things in between. And it's not really selling itself to me, if I'm honest. I think some people probably like that, but it's just not really doing it for me. Out of all four, that's probably my least favourite. Yeah, smoke comes through more in the finish than it does on the nose or in the palate, and it comes in way at the back. It's almost like it's an afterthought. It's one of those things. You're trying to get the flavour of what all's going on there, and the next thing is just smoke. It's just sort of peatiness coming through a little bit there. So it's kind of working on a different level, number of different levels. That would be the one I'd be least fond of out of that. And normally I quite like peated whiskey, but that's not really working for me. Number 93. Now I tell you what I'm going to do. I shouldn't really do this. This is very bad form, but I want to cleanse my palate a little bit. Now we'll go back because again, that's really, really different stuff. Yeah, bit more chocolate coming through on it now than there was. Definitely. Sort of hot chocolate, cold chocolate, if you like. This is one we put a little touch of water in. Oh my word! Wow, wow! It's just like a chocolate orange or something. When does that date from? 1905. Wow. That's like I can imagine someone in 1905 nosing that and thinking to themselves, "My God, that's amazing! It tastes like there's nothing in 1905 is going to taste it like that. I would bet a pound to a penny, nothing in 1905 tasted like that. It's like chocolate orange. It's like a Terry's chocolate orange. Other chocolate oranges may be available, but Terry's chocolate orange is the one you want. Ah, man, that is superb. I mean, really, really, really good. I mean, it is genuinely something that you're going to smile at. It's just pure chocolate orange. That's exactly what that is. Mm. So much better with a couple of drops of water in it. That's my favourite out of those two by a country mile. And well, you can hazard a guess, unless this one has sparked open with the oxygen, it's going to take a lot of beating that mash bill 15. That's bloody awesome. Awesome. It's basically chocolate orange the whole way through, and then um, like chocolate orange ice cream. I mean, there's lots of sort of creamy, um, ice creamy notes coming out on certainly in these three. That the one at the end, not just so much, but those two at the start, definitely. This is from 1838. I should really have put a touch of water in this, if I'm honest. Looking back, I probably should have put a little touch of water in that. This has went to a sort of apple biscuit flavour. It's kind of apple biscuity note now. It's moved away down to, you know, like those. There's sort of an element of fig roll, and if you're not sure what that is, it's like a fig biscuit with in a sort of soft um, pastry esque thing. It's kind of like a biscuit you get in the UK if you're watching this somewhere else. But it's kind of like that, but take out the figs and replace it with apple, uh, stewed apple type thing. Uh, Lots of people like this. I'm not a huge fan of apple tarty stuff. I'm not stewed apples. It's moved when it was happy smiling cider. It's now moved on a little bit to apple tarty crumbly goodness. I preferred it when it was cidery, if I'm honest. And there's a little bit more wood coming in on it, which sort of unbalances it a little bit from what it was when it first came out of the glass. It was cider, by gum, Taunton cidery, Somerset-esqueness, which I really liked, and it's kind of moved a little bit over, oxidised a tiny bit in the glass, if I'm honest, just a little bit, but you can pick that up, and then onto the one with the little bit of peat in it. I'm going to put a little touch of water in that, but I don't. If I'm honest, I'm not. I'm only doing this in the hope that it lifts it a little bit. I'll give it a couple of seconds. Now, I'm not 100% sure whether Peter has cut these down to these ABVs, because that's where he feels they should be, or that's naturally where they're coming out of the cask. I doubt if that's where they're coming out of the cask. It may be. I don't know how small or big the casks are. So if they're very small casks, then they could be losing quite a lot. They lost quite a lot really quite quickly. So I don't know whether he's cut them down in this. But this is what he is releasing them at. Yeah, it's maybe helped that a little bit. Hmm. The smoke probably comes in a little bit earlier with the advent of a little bit of water. If I have to rank these, that one is there. We'll put it where it's that high up. You can barely just see it, just his wee feet just hanging out. My next favourite one is this one. We'll put it about there, and there. All right. So the 1915 one. That's a fabulous one. That is superb. I take my hat off that. They've all made me smile at some point. Yeah, really interesting. Well done, Peter. Well done. Get all the guys down at the Blackwater. More power to you guys, because you've ploughed your own furrow. You've said this is what we're going to do. You've carried on doing it. You've kept doing it. Lots of this is going to be hit and miss with some whiskies. It's just naturally, because you guys don't know what you're getting at the end. Okay, I appreciate that. You're taking these mash bills, you're recreating them, putting them through your still, putting them in casks that possibly they never had back in the day, because you can't recreate history in 100%. You just can't. I mean, things are different. Back in the day, they didn't have as many fire regulations, for example. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But the likes of this, you can kind of touch a little bit of history. 1915, the First World War was going on. It was the year Lloyd George passed the Aged Spirit Act. You know, this was a crucial year in Irish and Scottish whiskey, and to a lesser degree England, and a little bit of Wales. I think at the time, Wales still had a distillery at the time. I think they did. Crucial year in history, and this is touching that. You know, you kind of get your fingertips on history, and that's a superb thing. As I've said, I don't like it when everybody wants to look at the past, because then it sort of dilutes the whole thing. Some do that. Guys, just starting off, be progressive, do something different, take inspiration from these. Certainly, you don't have to recreate them, but the manifesto boxes are coming out. I'm a big fan of inaugural releases, and you do have to pay for them. You know, these inaugural releases are something that our guys have spent a long time. They're as collectible as anything else. So if you have a chance, buy 2 boxes, drink one, save one. I wholeheartedly agree with collecting whiskey. I think it's a brilliant thing to do. But drinking these, trying them out, seeing what they do, seeing what the work and achievement has happened. But they need to buy 2 of them for that regard, and get both of them. So yeah, yeah. Number 15, your time has come. I am going to kill you now. Oh man, honestly, I don't have a particularly sweet tooth, as everybody knows. That's not sweet. It's like a chocolate orange. It's sweet, but it's not sweet, sweet, sweet. You know, it's not. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Wow, that one's easily my favorite out of all of those. Yeah, yeah. So try the manifesto, get the book. See Peter looking very. I would imagine with grain prices now, he's getting a bit. He'd be like the thinker and like that's over the thing. We'll get another book, guys. Support these guys doing this kind of thing because this is something they're not big. They're not going to they're not big. They're not. It's not what they're for. They're for quantity, for quality over quantity, and authenticity and historic and all that kind of thing. And more power to you guys. Honestly, I think it's superb. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Obviously, I loved some more than others, but that number 15, give me a bottle of that. Excellent. Thank you very much. Take care. Tune in to me and Justin on a Saturday night, 10 p.m., and you'll see his wee bald head.